we're trying out me on top this time and Andrew on bottom is what we're doing. We'll see how that
Honey,
works
I'm
out.
always on the top.
Wow. All right.
You
Now,
still can't dance to it, John.
I'm hoping everything is working correctly. I believe it is, except right now your name says Troy Duran narrator. So let's fix that. Other than that, I think we might actually be good.
I don't know where that
Um,
came from.
well, that was my guest on Talk to the Beard yesterday. And a heck of a guy. He's a great narrator and just a heck of a fun guy. He's super nice. So you are Andrew Gray. And you are not a narrator. Author extraordinaire. There
Author
we go.
extraordinaire. There you go.
There we go. Excellent. Can everybody see, hear us, all that fun stuff? And yeah, we are in reversed positions. We're trying out me on top this time and Andrew on bottom is what we're doing. We'll see how that
Honey, I'm
works out.
always on the top.
Wow. Look at that. I didn't that's actually more that's more knowledge than I had at the beginning. You know, you learn something new every day. So today we are let's moving right along. Today we are
Well,
talking
John,
about
you were the one that brought up positions.
oh my god, a new release today by Andrew. Too hot to hold. Look at that, and I'm gonna if this works correctly, I can get back over there. I got to take that sound effect out. That's my live sound effect when the screen flips over. There's a gong sound, Andrew, and it says penis. Um, it's whenever it's my entrance. All right, so I got to take that out. But anyways, this is a work in progress again. We'll have this all figured out. So
At
anyways,
least it's not bananas.
it's pretty close. A bunch of people they go. Oh, by the way, Alyssa says your Fire and Glass came out today on audio. Ta-da, look at you. So
Oh, I have.
you got a bunch of cool things happening in audio here coming up.
I guess.
Look at
I
you
didn't even
going.
realize it didn't come out today. I'm gonna have to check the listy thing.
The listy thing.
Thank you.
Oh shit. Well, we'll be talking about it on the Ramblin' Gremlin show coming up on Thursday as well. So too hot to hold. What I'm going to do here, Andrew, is I'm going to read this here. What do you call them? Blurbs? Is that what you call them at the beginning of the book? In the
Sure.
industry, is that what you want to call it? Do you
They
do
call them
you
blurbs. They call them overviews. They call them lots of things.
now, do
It's
you
okay.
write your own blurbs for all of your books now, or do you have like your editor, publisher,
No,
or somebody like that do it?
well, for the published books, they write the blurbs, and then I work with them. For my self-published ones, I write the blurbs, and then Dominic rips them apart.
Is that the way that works? I didn't know
That's
that.
how that
Okay.
works.
Now I know.
And
Oh,
I have a friend out there who I send Sean, who I send the blurbs to, and she gives me feedback too.
okay. So well, I've heard tell authors will say that it's their least favorite thing to do is to write the
Oh,
blurb. That
it's not fun.
yeah, I mean it's your baby, so you don't want to. It's like you got to. Don't they say kill your babies? Is that what they say? Is that the saying in writing? You got to kill your babies.
I don't know. I don't kill babies.
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't kill
There's
babies. I've
there's
never
some
killed babies.
there's some saying like that. I don't really know how it works, but what the idea is, you have a good idea and you put it in your book, but then you have to take it out a lot because there's editing
I
and all that. So
Oh, yeah. Well, I did. I did have a reader tell me that she never wanted to be a mother in a mother in any of my books because I always killed them.
that makes perfect sense. Some of my friends, they never even give the mothers and fathers names. It's a very odd thing. The main character's mother and the main character's father never, like, there'll be whole series they never even get a name. It's just mom and dad. I'm not sure if you do that as well. Do you name your? It's an oddity I've seen. I figured it was maybe in the writing class 101. Don't
I
name them.
I try to name them, but I don't want to say this is my my mom or whatever else. So I have sort of backwards ways of slipping their name in,
before you
such
kill
as
them.
if you have a father that pisses you off or that's pissing the character off, you could slip in something like Jasper Hutchinson was an ass no matter which way you sliced it. And you could always do it. Yeah, exactly.
Right,
There's
and
lots
then
of
you
ways to slip it in there.
and then you kill them. It's again, that's you're going for destruction. It's pretty much what you're. I can kind of see how.
Sure.
I don't know.
Particularly if they're an ass, you slip it in there and then sometimes you get to kill them.
Did you just say they were an ass, and then you suggested that you were going to slip it in their ass? I
Oh, sure, why not?
slip of the tongue.
Well,
Ass
you
is what.
just, you slip the name in there and then you kill them.
Andrew Gray, I love you to death. I'm going to read this blurb here, and we'll see.
Blurb away.
We'll see what Dominic would say about this. Two Ought to Hold by Andrew Gray. Gay burlesque performer Noel West had dreams of dancing professionally, but an injury sidelined him. He's wary of other people, largely because of his profession. When David offers him a ride in a blizzard, he cautiously accepts, expecting a come on. David is a gentleman, however, and that quickly gets past Noel's defenses. David Hunter is a trust fund kid and a lawyer. Seeing Noel, he offers a ride because, well, no one should be out on a frigid night. He has no idea what Noel does until he refers to it in a snappy comeback, which leads David to return and see the show. He's captivated by Noel in a way he never thought possible, and decides to try to get Noel's attention. The old-fashioned way. He shows him his dick. He woos him, is what he does. He doesn't. They didn't put that in the blurb. That was just to see if you were paying
No,
attention. I
that was
didn't
not
know
in the blurb.
that was the old. That was the old. In Van Halen, it was the. There was the red M&M. Anyways, when Noel's club is raided on trumped-up charges, he calls for help and David answers. But even as Noel starts to realize that David might be everything he appears to be, he's still skeptical. Especially when he learns David's father has political ambitions that Noel's relationship with David seems to threaten. David will need to navigate family drama to prove to Noel that his feelings are true, and that he really is his Prince Charming. Now, speaking of Prince Charming, y'all know that Andrew Gray has some swagger. He has some I don't know. In my world, Star Wars, I'd call it Lando Calrissian. He's kind of a player. So check this out. Because I've been harping on you about not dedicating your books to your husband, which I think is kind of rude, that you don't do that more. To Tricia, Rebecca, Dominic, and Reese, and everyone who helps make my books possible. You slid in. He's like number 3 in a list, but at least you included him in there. That's a suave man right there. Good job.
You're goofy.
I enjoy you. Andrew Gray. So, who's who here? You said you're going to be Noel, and I'm going to be everybody else.
Yep.
All right, let's see how this works here. Da, da, da. All right. Chapter 1. Night, Noel. A figure in the sliver of light from the theater door said as he passed. Noel West waved and then pulled his long coat closer around him as he stepped out into the wee hours of the morning, wisps of snow swirling around him.
Night, Frankie.
He told the security man at the door as he took his first steps down the passage at the side of the building. The wind picked up and Noel tightened his scarf around his neck, glad for all the layers he was wearing. "Hey," a gruff voice said. "How about you come over here and suck my dick?" Noel sighed. I think this one's you.
Like that's something I haven't heard before.
He turned as a man stepped out of the shadows. He was middle-aged, short and dumpy. His hard life was written all over his face, and he probably had enough alcohol in his system to pickle his liver for the next decade. "Come on, I know you like cock, coming out of that place."
Yeah.
Noel snapped.
And I'm sure as big a pig as you are, you think your dick is going to taste like bacon.
He pulled back his lips to show his teeth.
Now, how do you know I won't bite that little cocktail wiener of yours?
He snapped his teeth, and the man took a step back. Noel drew himself up as tall as he could before walking a little faster to the main road and turning to the right. "Are you okay?" another man asked. Noel didn't want to stop. He was tired and just wanted to go back to his tiny apartment and go to sleep. "That guy didn't hurt you, did he?" Noel whirled around.
Gee, you, I lost my place.
"Yeah, it's all right. You already wrote it. Don't worry about it."
No, I'm fine.
He narrowed his gaze at the tall, broad man who stood about 2 feet over him, or from him, sorry. He was, climb him like a tree, lick him all over, gorgeous, even in the gray overcoat that must have cost as much as Noel made in a month. A stunning head of dark hair, specked with snow, topped off a face that deserved to be carved in granite.
Thank you.
"Can I give you a ride home?" the man asked. Noel rolled his eyes.
Look, if you're going to proposition me, try something original, okay? I'm tired.
Suddenly his mind began playing the Lily Von Stupp song from Blazing Saddle, but he refused to smile.
And if you want to see my act, you can pay the admission like everybody else. I don't do private shows.
He was so over guys thinking he was some sort of plaything.
And just so you know, I'm a person. I'm not some piece of meat because
Oh,
of what I do.
hang on here. Andrew, I think we lost you. Let me see exactly what's happened here. Guys, unfortunately, I think we lost Andrew in the middle of them. Andrew, I believe you're probably going to want to disconnect and reconnect. Let's see if we can help him along in that regard. There we go. I will continue reading, and hopefully he can reconnect here in a second. "And if you want to see my act, you can pay the admission like everyone else. I don't do private shows." He was so over guys, thinking he was some sort of plaything. "And just so you know, I'm a person. I'm not some piece of meat because of what I do, and dancing on stage does not mean that the rest of my time is for sale, okay? I've already had 3 Prince Charmings at Tarzan, 2 guys take running dives at me, and a half a dozen fall-down drunks in the last 3 hours. I think my fellow man could just give me a break and let me go home. Alone." And... all right. We'll see at least if you guys can see me. Can you all see me? Pretty sure Andrew just lost his. But I think we should be good on my end, which means we can continue, I guess. Let's wait till we get a confirmation. Excellent. Thank you, Mary. Love y'all. I'll just keep on reading. Let's see what we can do. What I should have done is put up a frozen image of Andrew down there. It's like, but anyways. He turned away and continued walking. The snow picked up, and what had been wisps floating lightly in the air turned into curtains of white that coated everything. He pushed his shoulders up and did his best to nestle into his coat as he walked as quickly as he could down the sidewalk. He only had 4 blocks to go to his building. "Are you sure I can't give you a ride?" a now familiar voice said. Noel turned to say no, thank you, as the huge guy with eyes that sparkled in the light from above stood next to a limousine. Warmth poured out of it, and Noel was tempted. "I promise I'm just offering a ride home with no strings attached." Noel reached into his pocket and wrapped his cold fingers around his can of pepper spray. Then he took a step toward the car, ducked down, and ducked inside the warm interior. For a second he wondered if the cold had turned him completely stupid. The man climbed in after him and closed the door. "Please, give Antoine your address." "Buffalo and Jefferson," Noel said, not wanting to give his exact address, but it was the closest intersection. The car rolled forward. "Thank you," Noel said, his hand still in his pocket. "This is just a ride home." "Of course," the man said from next to him, having settled comfortably into his seat. "You know you have a real mouth on you. Do you always wield it like a sword?" He smiled a perfect smile without any heat or menace behind it. Doing what Noel did for a living, he got to know the crazies, and this guy gave off none of those vibes. If he didn't know better, Noel might have put him in the nice category, except those kind of people did not go around in limos and take exotic dancers home from work at 2 in the morning. Give me one moment. Da-da-da-da. Reconnect, please, period. Same link, same password. Close out your browser first. We'll see if he comes back, guys. I think there's a chance. It usually works, and it's a lot less messy than the alternative. The car turned and continued slowly down the narrow street. Noel recognized the area near his home, and as the car slowed, he let himself relax just a little. Here you are. Noel half expected the door not to open, but as he pulled the latch, it swung out, and he stepped back out into the wind and snow. There he
Okay.
is. Look at that. Ta-da!
I'm back.
Yeah, something happened on your side and you dropped. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it dropped. Okay.
Yep. But we are, let's see here. We just read the line, "Here you are," on page 3. And that is, looks like second paragraph down.
Oh, okay.
Here you are. So we're picking up there. Noel half expected the door not to open, but as he pulled the latch, it swung out, and he stepped back out into the wind and snow. And this is Joel. So it's you.
Oh, thank you.
He flashed a smile because the man deserved it, and then closed the door, stepped back, and walked across the street behind the limousine. It pulled forward and slipped away into the night, leaving him truly alone on the silent street. He scratched his head slightly, watching as the black car turned left at the corner and disappeared from sight. Maybe it was Christmas, and the guy in the limo had been Stripper Claus. Who knew? He hurried down the road to his building, used his key to unlock the outer door, and then stepped inside where it was warmer. He made sure the door was closed securely before quietly heading up the stairs to his back of the building apartment. After releasing a large sigh, Noel unwrapped his scarf and then hung up his coat near the door so it could dry. He kicked off his shoes, unzipped the Harvard sweatshirt he had on underneath, and hung that up as well. A soft meow sounded from the floor as Wiggles wound his way around his legs. Noel picked him up and carried him along into the kitchen. He gave the big tabby a little food and made himself half a sandwich before drinking a couple glasses of water. When they had both eaten, Noel showered quickly to get the smell of the theater off him before climbing into bed. Wiggles jumped up to claim his own spot at the crook of Noel's knees as soon as he was settled. Noel usually fell asleep easily, and tonight was no exception. His days and nights were long, so sleep came quickly. He didn't usually dream, or at least he never remembered them in the morning, but this time he woke with the image of the stunning man who had given him a ride home. Wiggles blinked up at him with his big eyes. All Noel could think was, what the hell had he done? Getting into a car with a stranger had to be one of the stupidest things possible. Granted, the guy had taken him right home, but Jesus, he could have locked the doors and transported Noel to his sex dungeon, or decided to reenact his own version of House of Wax. Wiggles jumped off the bed and meowed loudly. Noel got up as well, pulled on his robe and padded barefoot to his tiny kitchen where he fed the cat, then flopped down onto the sofa and turned on the television to see if the world had fallen apart. And that, my friends, is a scene break. Welcome
Yeah.
back, by the way, Andrew.
I'm back. Gosh, it just went kaput.
Yep, shit happens. It could have been on our side too here with VMix today. So at least you came back. So I have no idea who
Yes.
Dean is. So we'll make all this stuff up here.
Well, that's you.
Yep. You what? Dean asked the following evening. You actually got in the car with him? His usually pouty lips hung open in abject surprise. You slut.
It was cold and I was freezing. Besides, I don't know. I got a vibe off him. And he was just being nice. And I was right. His limousine brought me home, and that was all there was to it.
Noel thought about sticking his tongue out, but in this place, that could get you into a ton of trouble. So he scrunched his face and shot Dean ocular daggers.
And you're the slut, and we all know it.
Amen to that. Jesse echoed from where he was checking out the way his butt looked in the mirror before making sure everything in front was lying to its best advantage. "Does everything look right?" "Except for that big pimple on your left cheek," Dean said. Jesse whirled around to look at his face as Dean smacked him on the ass. "I'll do that again," he crooned, shoving his backside close to Dean, who shook his head and went back to his preparations. Noel was just pleased their attention was elsewhere.
How about we just get ready?
Noel said with a chuckle. These guys loved having fun. It was what they seemed to live for. Jesse got into his naughty elf outfit, and Noel groaned. He hated that damned thing, though the crowd seemed to love it, especially given the time of year. Noel was known as the stripping hipster, so he carefully pulled on his costume, making sure all the rip-away panels didn't come undone. Then he checked himself in the mirror. "Do you think your Good Samaritan will be in the audience tonight?" Dean asked, with a wink. Noel didn't want to think about that sort of thing. It was Saturday night, which meant the crowd would be big, hyped up, and rowdy as hell. What he really wanted was to just get through the night, and then he could go home and not have to return to this place until Tuesday. This was a job, and it paid for his apartment and fed him in Wiggles. It also paid his college expenses.
It doesn't matter. He was a guy who was nice enough to give a ride home when it was snowing like hell. That's all.
"And did he make a play for you?" Noel shrugged slightly.
He might have, but I shut him down quickly. They, but he could have been genuinely nice, and as jaded as I am, I assumed that what he said was a line. Who knows? It was one ride on a snowy night, and I'm grateful for it.
He met Dean's gaze.
Not that fucking grateful, so save that sex look for the crowd out there who will buy that act. I know better.
He shooed Dean away and helped him into his Officer Randy outfit. Of all of them, Dean was the only one who had the build to pull off that act. Jesse, like Noel, was smaller, more willowy, and slight. At one time, Noel had dreamed of being a ballet dancer. He took classes for years and was dang good. He'd even had interest from various companies. But all that changed with an injury when he was 17. In an instant, the dreams for his future were gone. Then at 18, he'd found himself on his own and needed a way to make a living. He understood how to express himself through movement, so this job had been a breeze to get, especially with his lean body and angel face. "Well, I took a peek out front, and I must say there's a man standing in back who would give me a ride home any time he wanted." Dean glided away in his most dramatic fashion. Noel was tempted to check for himself, but the music started and Jesse, the naughty elf, took the stage. Noel was next, and he knew he needed to be ready. Jesse ran off stage in his song, his little butt bouncing as he hurried back to the dressing room. He flashed a thumbs up as Frankie followed him, handing Jesse a wad of cash. Clearly, the guys were out tonight, and they were in a spending mood. Noel closed down the part of his mind that wondered if he was doing the right thing. He needed the money, and he could make enough tonight to last him through the rest of the month and pay part of the rent. "Gentlemen, it's time for a favorite of ours, and we know he's one of yours as well, so give a great welcome to our favorite hipster, and he's no coward, Noel." He hated that introduction, but the crowd roared as he sauntered on stage like none of this mattered. It was part of the shtick, and how he made it through each and every show. Noel reached the center of the stage and cocked a hip to one side, then dramatically shifted to the other, spreading his legs, flashing a hint of what he had underneath. He brought a finger to his lips, as though he were wondering what to do next. The music began, and Noel did a backflip, easily landing on his feet. The crowd applauded and whistled as he spun on his toes to the rousing beat of the music, his shirt flying off as he did so that when he came to a stop, his golden skin glistened and glowed under the lights.
You want some of this?
Noel asked with a wry grin he had perfected months ago, running his hands down his chest and belly before returning to his toes and into a pirouette before once again coming to a stop. The crowd was breathless, and Noel loved this moment. The beat of the music came faster, and Noel spun with it, lowering a hand to his waist. He tugged on his tearaway pants, and they came off. He held on to them, raising his hands above his head, the faded jeans-colored material flying above him like a flag that he twirled and bobbed before letting the fabric fly to the side of the stage just before he came to a stop with his back to the audience. In his usual flourish, he turned and put his finger to his lips, like he was wondering if he had been bad.
You know what Mama always said? Make them beg for more, and then don't give it to them.
He grinned wicked. He had a different mama than me, by the way. He grinned wickedly, which brought down the house each and every time.
Thank God I'm not my mother.
He turned toward the audience, rolling his hips, and cash rained down on the stage. He gave them his biggest smile, his arms over his head, and was finally able to see out into the audience. The huge man from last night was there, in a suit that hugged him like a glove, standing in the back, his gaze locked on to Noel's. Noel had long ago forgotten to be shy or embarrassed by a room full of men looking at him on stage nearly naked. It came with the job, and Noel worked hard on his body to keep it in shape and the cash flowing in. But in that moment, with that pair of incredible eyes watching him, it took all his willpower not to run from the stage. He swallowed and kept his smile in place, slowly moving along the front to give each person a good view. Letting them look was the way he got paid, and the money seemed to fall like the snow from last night. Once the show ended, Noel sauntered off the stage, the same way he had when he was fully clothed, racing to the dressing room as soon as he was out of sight of the patrons. Noel pulled on his jeans and a t-shirt right away, and turned when Frankie entered with his costume and his money.
Thank you.
He said. Early on, he had offered to tip Frankie, but he always shook his head. The man was honest as the day was long. Noel supposed you had to be running this kind of business in Milwaukee. I run this place to be safe for everyone, and that means that you all get all your money. Those men out there pay me enough to get in and drink like fishes. I do really well, was all Frankie had ever said. And Noel had never heard of him misbehaving with any of the guys. Stories went around about owners taking advantage of the entertainment, but that never happened here. You got your Beauty and the Beast number with Dean in half an hour,
I'll be ready.
Noel said.
You know that.
He was always prepared and didn't believe in holding up the show. You always are. He turned to leave, but paused. There's also a man out front who was asked to see you. I explained that no one gets backstage during a show, and he asked if you might be available afterward. Frankie took a deep breath.
Is this the guy from the back in the fancy suit? I saw him.
Noel added after Frankie nodded.
Tell the guy I'll join him once the show is over. And no, I don't know what he wants, but at least out there, the bartenders and you will be able to make sure he doesn't pull anything.
Though honestly, if he were going to, he would have done something last night when they were in the car. Instead, he had been kind and, dare Noel ever use the word, a gentleman. Frankie nodded. All right, but if he tries anything, he's out of here. Frankie left, and Noel began getting ready for his next number. There was always a crowd pleaser. But even as he went through his familiar routine, he couldn't help wondering what the man from last night wanted. Ta-da! There we go.
There you
Two Out
go.
to Hold, released today. Thanks for coming by, Andrew. I appreciate it. Thanks for working through our technical difficulty. I do appreciate it. I'm assuming you're coming by again next month or something like that?
On May 9th, I have Only the Brightest Stars.
There you go.
It's my take on the Star is Born thing. I always hate that storyline, so I took it and made it my own.
Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to
So
that. I appreciate it.
I Andrew graded all to heck.
Let's see. What is that? What is it? Be? I mean, I'm assuming. I guess we'll just have to read it and we'll figure it out. But, anyways, thank you so much for coming out, man. I appreciate it. Love you to death. Have fun. Wave to the camera.
Thank
See
you.